Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first-year welcoming ceremony presented by Burnet, Duckworth, and Palmer. My name is Martin Phillipson, and I have the privilege of being the Dean of the College of Law. Right now, I would like you all to welcome our first-year students. Take a seat. And before we begin our formal program, can we please have a round of applause for members of the Māori Quartet? Welcome, everyone. Welcome, students. In particular, staff, faculty, cloakers, honored guests, family and friends up in the balcony, and those watching online. We're excited to have you with us today to help formally welcome our first-year students to the College of Law. As we gather here today, we acknowledge we are on Treaty 6 territory in the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respects to the First Nation and Métis ancestors of this place, and we reaffirm our relationship with one another. The first-year welcoming ceremony is intended to be a ritual marking the beginning of a new intellectual journey. one that will be transformative and enriching for students embarking upon their legal studies. Part of the ceremony includes having our first years recite a student commitment. This commitment has been derived from the University of Saskatchewan Learning Charter, which was established in 2010 to define aspirations about the learning experience that the university aims to provide. You will find the student commitment in your program, along with commitments from both the institution and the faculty. Together, these commitments define the roles each party plays in ensuring every student at the University of Saskatchewan is given an optimal learning experience. I also want to emphasize in the strongest terms the role that our guests here today play. Parents, partners, grandparents, children, family, friends. The support you have provided and the support you will continue to provide to these students does not go unnoticed. And we thank you for playing such an important role in the lives of each of them. Let's have a round of applause for the support networks. So today we are welcoming 129 new students to the College of Law, and that they come from all across Canada. They have a wide variety of professional and educational backgrounds, including teaching, nursing, journalism, native studies, and I think we have a commercial pilot in our midst this year. This is, however, and I just want to mention this briefly, a particularly special year, as almost exactly 7 days ago, almost to the minute, I was 2,840.82 kilometers to the northeast in Iqaluit, Nunavut, where we welcomed 25 students to the college who will study full-time in Iqaluit as part of our partnership with the Government of Nunavut and the Nunavut Arctic College. Those students are embarking upon a 4-year JD program, and although they will graduate in 2021 as University of Saskatchewan JD students, I told them that I would mention them this week to their new classmates, and I'm delighted that this means we have 154 first-year students this year, which is by far and away the largest first-year class we've ever had. We're enormously proud to have 2 cohorts. We will do our best to make them 1 cohort, and we're delighted to be doing that. But it's nice to be home, and the focus of today's ceremony is these students here. As we go through the ceremony, please follow along in your programs for the bios of each speaker and gown presenter. I would now like to welcome Maria Campbell to the stage, who, in addition to being the college's cultural advisor, is a Métis author, broadcaster, advocate, and elder. And I want to invite Maria to the stage to bring greetings and say a blessing. Maria.
Thank you. And I'm so honored to be here today to do this, to do the blessing for the welcoming. This is really an exciting day for all of you, and I really envy you. You have such a wonderful and exciting time ahead of you. I want to just remind you that in our teachings, as we talk about this being Treaty 6 and Treaty 6 territory in homeland of the Métis, that in our teachings, when everything was still okay for us, that children were the most important in our societies, in our lives, and that in all of the work that we do, we put them in front of us for 7 generations ahead. And so what I'd like to say to all of you, some of you have children, and you're the children of family that are here with you, to imagine on the stage all of the children in our community, from whatever place they come from whatever language they speak, that the work you're going to do in the future is something that they're going to inherit, and that we ask the great mystery today that the inheritance that will be left for them will be a really courageous, a kind and gentle one. So we all have our ways to speak to the mystery or creator or God, whatever you call it. So I'd like you to do that and to think about all of the babies in your family. I'm going to do the blessing in Cree. Haukiumagati peitsigeen kirinaskumten. Iko kemioasikoma matsuun ka peawihiak. Kirinaskumten epemiugisika ka pekemuakoma. Kirinaskumten choasumsinanak. Kosimnanak kehtemnanak ahkiau. Miaihawane yaachik. Egwankik. Ka wansinchik ka ahkusichik. Ka wiitsihachik wiistaav. Ka miaiachik. Kuitsimten nohtawi. Ka wiitsihiakan ma ka miaasik meskanau kausihtaa. Kausihtamawakuk choasimsinawak. Ka nuemnan. Egwan me kuitsimtan. Timageemnan. Haaminan gawiaski. Kistamina iko komakak timaigawien. Kistamina kinenaskumten. Wiitsihinan kanaspitatak. Kamionakohtsegeak nistanan. Haun mosomaka newapiek skohtemaka kanoihtame kistaamina kinenaskumten hawau. Emioasika pepihtago emaka. Kispne maata kopmegastajen. Haun uttugo atajuhkan kohkomnau. Kistamina kinenaskumten. Pewitapn nananuts kan weemnan. Kan stohtaake kogek. Kawitsigo jahkok. Eo kistanau kami wiitsitojaak. Kinenaskumtan nohtawi. Kinenaskumtan. Hai.
Thank you, Maria. As the name of this event would suggest, it would not be possible without the support of Burnet, Duckworth and Palmer law firm. BDP has committed $200,000 over 10 years to sponsor this ceremony. Today we have with us Grant Vogelai, QC, Senior Litigation Partner at BDP in Calgary. Grant received his BA from the University of Regina in 1981 and his LLB from the University of Saskatchewan in 1982. Please welcome Grant Vogelai.
Thank you. It's indeed my honor to be here at this great institution, bringing greetings on behalf of my firm. I'm very proud that we are supporting not only this institution, but this commencement ceremony. I vividly remember starting here in 1979. It's hard to believe that it's been 38 years since I started here, and the truly vivid memories that I have of being here. And just greatly appreciate being back in Saskatchewan, being at this institution. And I'm just so happy that I've had the opportunity to obtain a legal education and what it's done for me. It's just opened my mind. What I learned here primarily was how to think, that there was more than one way to solve a problem, to approach a problem, to put myself in the shoes of other people. And I use that every day in my law practice and in my life. And now that I'm here 38 years later and a little older, of course I can't resist to give advice to younger people. So I'm going to give you two bits of advice that I think may be important to you in your legal journey. First, don't be intimidated or discouraged. Many of you have arrived here and you're thinking that all of your classmates may seem smarter than you, and you may be fearful that you're not going to succeed. I have a distinct memory of feeling that way myself when I arrived here. I only learned much later that most of my classmates had the same fears, and most of them, in fact, I now know, were not smarter than me. It took me a while to figure that out. In your career, you will undoubtedly be told by a professor, a senior partner, a judge, or someone with significant influence over you that you're not smart enough or that you won't succeed at something. When it happens, and it will for all of you, don't accept what they're saying. Persevere. I had this experience in my first year of law school. I had the idea of going to Calgary. It was booming. I went to a professor that had practiced there, and I asked him what I should do to prepare myself to get a job in Calgary. He said, "Don't bother, you're not smart enough." And I believed him, so I didn't. I went to Regina and I practiced for 6 great years. And then I applied to Calgary once I figured out that I wasn't quite as dumb as I thought I was and that I could succeed if I persevered. I went to Calgary and I've had a great practice and a great life there for the last 25 years. So the lesson there is you will face adversity. You will be told or you will feel that you're not smart enough or good enough. Don't accept it. Persevere. Second, your reputation in law and in life matters a lot, and it starts now. Judges, clients, other lawyers, the public, your classmates, and your professors assess you based on your reputation. Success in law requires a good reputation. A good reputation takes a career to build, and it can be lost with one indiscretion. One ill-advised tweet or post or email or instance of dishonesty can ruin your reputation. It works for Donald Trump in politics, but it won't work for you in law. In my opinion, building a strong reputation is fairly straightforward. You should start doing it now. You should work hard and be prepared. Be honest and straightforward, and treat others the way you would like to be treated, even when they don't treat you that way. So start doing that now. In conclusion, I'd like to congratulate you on your admission to law school and welcome you to the legal profession. Enjoy your legal education and your life in law wherever it may lead you.
Thank you, Grant, and thanks again to BDP. Next, I have a letter from the Honourable Robert Richards, Chief Justice of Saskatchewan, to bring greetings from the Court of Appeal. He was unable to be here today. He's currently attending Canadian Judicial Council meetings. I will not attempt a Bob Richards impersonation. I'll get into trouble if I tried to do that, so I will do my best. And it reads as follows. On behalf of my colleagues at the Court of Appeal, I'm delighted to be able to welcome you to the study of law at the University of Saskatchewan. Every day, and in every corner of the world, lawyers are doing important work. They defend the innocent and they safeguard their rights. They build and maintain the institutions and relationships on which economies are grounded. They help people to arrange their family and personal affairs. At every turn, lawyers are intimately involved in making communities work. In big ways and in small, they are on the front lines of the ongoing struggle to protect liberty, to ensure justice, and to promote social order and harmony. By deciding to enter law school, you have elected to become part of this amazing project. Over the next 3 years, you will learn a great deal. How is it that our society structures the relationships among its members and between its members and the state itself? How and why are people held to their agreements? What are the limits on what the state can do to fight crime or to fight terrorism? What principles govern the operations of executive government? And so on and so on. Lecture by lecture, course by course, and year by year, you will acquire an understanding of the rules and systems that make our world run. Your professors will give you an intellectual toolkit that will serve you for the rest of your professional lives, no matter what career paths you choose to take. Please accept my very best wishes for success and satisfaction in your studies. You will be tested in the days ahead, but I know that, just like those of us who've gone before, you will be up for the challenge. These next 3 years will be memorable ones, and they will mark you for life. Enjoy them and take from them all that you can. I'd just like to add a couple of words personally. You've been given a wonderful opportunity to be here. 129 of you, nearly 700 people would have gladly taken each one of these seats. They didn't get here. You did. You've done the hardest thing. I said this to you last week. The hardest thing about law school is getting in. Second hardest thing about law school is completing first year. It's like learning a new language. It's completely different. You don't know what you're doing. Most of your classmates don't know what they're doing either. Some of them are just a bit bolder than you are and can pass that off in some sort of sophisticated way about, yeah, I know everything. They don't. Wallow in that for a little while, and then, as Grant said, get to work. It's hard work, but if you work hard, you will succeed. We have 105 years of graduates to prove that you will succeed. Take this opportunity, but take this opportunity in the University of Saskatchewan College of Law spirit. Be collegial, be cooperative, work with each other, don't work against each other. You're not competing against each other. You're competing with yourself as to how hard you can work and how well you can perform. Be a good friend, be a good colleague. That's what we want. Think of yourself as lawyers, as public servants. You're serving the public, you're serving the private sector, but most importantly, you are serving people. You are a servant. We will give you an intellectual toolkit. We will give you a skill set. Then it's up to you how you use that and how you apply it. Get involved in your communities. Everybody needs legal advice. Everybody needs legal expertise, be it the home and school, be it the board of the sports team that your children play on, etc., etc. Use those skills, not just for your own personal gain, which is fine, but for the betterment of the community. When I was in Iqaluit last week, we had Madame Justice Cote from the Supreme Court came to give some remarks to the class. And she talked about being a junior lawyer in the Gaspé in Quebec, the only female lawyer in the Gaspé in a very remote area, and the importance to the class up there of the provision of legal services to those in remote and rural areas who need advice, who need support. We're going to give you a wonderful skill set here, and we want you to apply it well, again, for your own personal success, but for the betterment of others and the betterment of society. And I echo Justice Rich's comments that lawyers help society function. You help democracy function. It's an important role. Enjoy yourself at law school, work hard, but remember that you are public servants, first and foremost. That's enough lecturing from me. I don't get to teach anymore, so I have to take every opportunity that I can. Anyway, moving right along. I would now like to welcome the Honourable Justice Quinn and Gable to the stage to bring greetings from the Court of Queen's Bench.
Well said. Well, I am also very honored to bring greetings and congratulations on behalf of Chief Justice Popescu and all of the justices of the Court of Queen's Bench for Saskatchewan. When I was asked to address you on behalf of the court, I also reflected on where I was 2 weeks into law school in September of 1990. And there's a bit of a recurring theme here. My first recollection was that it was a pretty humbling experience. I recall quite vividly being overwhelmed by what seemed like a completely new language. For the first couple of weeks, I was glued to my law dictionary and just waiting for the moment that someone would tap me on the shoulder and explain to me that there'd been a terrible error and that it was a mistake and I didn't belong. Well, you know that didn't happen to me. And I was supposed to be there, and I can assure you that you're also supposed to be here. After all, as you've just heard, the hardest part is getting in. You've earned an opportunity that few people are given. It's an opportunity to learn the law and ways to apply it to help solve problems and advance justice. Look around. You all look very wonderful to me. But look around at each other. As a collective, you'll be the legal counsel for the situations to come. You'll be advocates, mediators, peacemakers. You'll be business owners, policymakers, professors, political leaders, authors, and judges. You will question assumptions, imagine new approaches to resolve problems. You will use your influence to better your communities. You're the future of the legal profession. My second recollection of law school, as someone who was not from Saskatoon and who had no friends or family in the city, was the immediate connection and camaraderie of the students at the College of Law. It was a completely different experience from my undergrad. I was quickly drawn into a study group involving a bunch of quirky students from all across the country when we were in a similar situation. And throughout law school, we studied together, we laughed together, we socialized together, and we grew up together. And some of those friendships are still the closest that I have. I know that you will find the College of Law to be more than another building or even another place to learn. It's a place where you will collaborate with fellow students and faculty from different backgrounds and ages and life experiences. A place where you'll be given the freedom and opportunity to discuss and examine challenging problems, but you'll also be able to socialize, find community and encouragement. As a final point, another thing I remember vividly about my first year is that I discovered a whole new fascination for movies and television involving lawyers. For me, it was LA Law. For you, it might be Suits. But unfortunately, you may find that your tolerance for such entertainment dwindles over time. Particularly, it becomes impossible to overlook all that inadmissible evidence and all those inappropriate arguments that are being made during trials. But a word of advice, keep your objections to yourself. You don't need to ruin the show for your non-law friends and family. On a serious note, though, as someone who had no family members who were lawyers, I was a blank slate when it came to knowledge about the legal profession. My view up until the time I entered law school was formed by the media and pop culture. The more I learned about lawyers and the legal profession, the more I discovered that there is a disconnect between the function that lawyers serve and how they're perceived by the public. If it hasn't already started, you can expect the lawyer jokes to start rolling in. And I encourage you to develop a thick skin, but I also encourage you to focus on the honorable and the critical role that lawyers play in our society. Be ready to remind people of that role and provide examples. For every instance that there is a lawyer behaving less than admirably, there are many, many, many untold stories of lawyers giving their all to see that justice is done and that fairness prevails. Be confident as you start this that the legal profession is a profession of honor and integrity. In closing, you're embarking on an amazing journey. You have wonderful opportunities ahead of you. There's no doubt in my mind that you will make a significant contribution to society in ways that are difficult to even now to predict. Ideas will change, laws will evolve, access to justice will be improved because of the efforts of you and your class. On behalf of all of the justices of the Court of Queen's Bench for Saskatchewan, congratulations on reaching this wonderful milestone in your lives.
Thank you, Justice Gable. I would now like to call upon the Honourable Judge Marilyn Penna to bring greetings from the Saskatchewan Provincial Court.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of the Provincial Court of Saskatchewan and our Chief Judge Plemmel to the incoming students, the future class of 2020. I'm a graduate of this college, and when Chief Judge Plemmel initially asked me to attend on his behalf, I was excited to come back on campus, hoping to see the fall colors in all their glory. It didn't quite turn out that way, but I'm still very happy to be here. But I did spend a little time starting to wonder why I'd been asked. I hadn't attended a ceremony such as this before. This didn't exist when I attended law school. And I was starting to think, as the newest member of our court in Saskatoon, maybe I was the low man on the totem pole, and this was going to be something no one else wanted to do. But I think it is very much an honor to be here. After I dug a little deeper, I really became keen on participating in this ceremony, which marks an important time in your legal education. You might understand my initial wariness if I share you my welcome to the College of Law in 1990. It was 27 years ago, yes, but if I recall correctly, all the first years were gathered into the library, the upper year classmates looking around from up above, staring down at us, just a little bit intimidating. I can't recall who was speaking to us that day, but the welcoming message to my classmates and I was something along the lines of, look to your right, look to your left. One of the three of you won't be here on graduation day. I felt all those eyes looking down on me, knowing that it was me. I wasn't going to be there on graduation day. I'm not sure if you'd really call that a welcoming, maybe a warning. I much prefer this welcoming to what we received that day. That look to your right, look to your left phrase, though, did stay tucked in the back of my mind throughout my time at college. Perhaps that little bit of extra incentive to work hard and to prove to those upper years that I would be there on graduation day. Each of you has worked very hard to gain admission to the college, and you'll need to continue to work very hard to exit with a degree. The skills that made you a successful applicant, may not be the same ones that make you a successful law student. Be prepared to adapt, to learn differently, and to think differently. The critical thinking required in law school is different than what most of us used in our undergraduate programs. You will learn from many exceptional lecturers and teaching assistants that make up this college. Remember that they are here to help you become successful. I should probably take this time to thank Dean Phillipson, or as I knew him in 1990, my first year, Martin, the TA with the great British accent. Martin taught us legal research and writing while he was a grad student, important skills that helped me succeed in school and in practice, and skills which continue to serve me today. The next 3 years, however, should not just be about studying the law. They should be about building relationships. You're going to be consumed by readings, moots, researching and writing papers, taking exams, but find time to have fun and build friendships. Some of my closest and longest-lasting friendships started at this college, and I think some of yours will too. I encourage you to look around and learn from your classmates. There are many different life experiences and perspectives present in each of them. Perspectives and experiences that you are unaware of, but you need to take the opportunity to learn about those experiences and perspectives from your classmates over the next few years. If you do so, your education will be greatly enhanced. I'm going to leave with you the suggestion that you carry forward that phrase, look to your left, look to your right, with you. But instead of thinking whether one of you may not be there on graduation day, introduce yourself to that person on your left and on your right. Arrange a coffee, arrange a beer, get to know one another. Spend the next 3 years learning from one another and helping one another to get to graduation day. I should also let you know, and probably very important for the parents and family and support people who are here today, that more than 66% of our class did in fact make it to graduation day. And I think Dean Phillipson can say that the number's much higher than that. So on behalf of the members of the Provincial Court and Chief Judge Plemmel, I welcome you to the study of law. I will also want to extend my congratulations to you on your admission and to your families who have helped you get here. I look forward to meeting you later today and perhaps in my courtroom one day.
Thanks for making me feel old. Although I will say again about opportunities. I came here quite young as a graduate student. I graduated from law school in England at the age of 21. Could barely shave and manage a bank account, so I thought I'd better go to grad school rather than try to give people life-changing legal advice when I was at a tender age. But I came to Canada to study and maybe see a bit of the world. But in the first 10 minutes of my very first legal writing tutorial, I knew I wanted to be a professor. Absolutely changed my life. Those first 10 minutes, I realized what it was I wanted to do, and I've been eternally grateful for the opportunity that this institution provided me. And again, remember the power of opportunity and the gift that you've been given. Enough lecturing again from me. Stick on message, Phillipson. They hate when I go off message. I would now like to welcome Ms. Erin Kleisinger, QC, to bring greetings on behalf of the Law Society of Saskatchewan.
Thank you, Martin. I said to him, he's not the only one who's going to lecture today because, of course, as the president of the Law Society, I'm here to speak to you about the role of the Society and the responsibility that all of you have as soon-to-be members. It is my pleasure to bring greetings at this ceremony on behalf of the Law Society of Saskatchewan. The Law Society is the governing and regulatory body of all lawyers in Saskatchewan. Its mandate is to govern the legal profession, protect the public by assuring the integrity, knowledge, skill, proficiency, and competence of its members, ensure the independence of the profession, and advance the administration of justice and the rule of law, all in the public interest. The Law Society discharges this duty by defining and enforcing standards of professional competency and ethical conduct expected of all lawyers, to which standards all lawyers are held strictly accountable. By entering law school, you are entering the legal profession. Some people say that your first day in law school is your first day as a member of the legal profession. And as such, you will be expected to abide by and uphold these standards and the principles of justice, honesty, civility, integrity, and responsibility that apply to all members of the bar. This past June, I attended the Law Society of Alberta retreat, where the theme was Preparing Tomorrow's Lawyer. It was one of those several conversations that I've had over the past years that are occurring between legal regulators and faculties of law across Canada with respect to the challenges that are facing the next generation of the legal profession. And we know that there are challenges. The practice of law for you is not going to be the same as it was for me when I entered the profession 25 years ago. And we are trying to figure out how we can work together through the continuum of legal education, which starts here in law school, continues through your admission into the profession, and then ongoing professional development, in order to help you, the lawyers of the future, meet those challenges. Over the next 3 years, you will work through that continuum and evolve from a student to a practitioner, gaining not only substantive knowledge of the law, but also learning and beginning to hone the skills to be successful at the practice of law. Upon admission to the Law Society, you will be expected to use that knowledge and those skills responsibly and ethically to act in furtherance of the public interest and the administration of justice. Lawyers enjoy a very unique and privileged position in society. This will be the first of many reminders that you will get that you should never take that position or that responsibility that you are entrusted with lightly. Now, I noted at the beginning of my remarks, as everyone said, that it was a pleasure to be here and bring greetings. Now, for me, this is a special day because I know several members of this incoming class, and I see several of my dear friends up in the gallery as proud parents looking down. Now, I think that these future lawyers are my only hope of someone in the family carrying on the tradition, as my only child has declared that she does not know what she wants to be when she grows up, except she knows she does not want to be a lawyer. Now, they say that your life can either serve as an inspiration or as a horrible warning. Apparently, mine is both. It is my delight to welcome you as you take your first step toward a profession that is both incredibly demanding and incredibly rewarding. Embrace all of the opportunities and experiences that are afforded to you over the next 3 years. I look forward to having you all as my colleagues in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, for those remarks. I'm now delighted to introduce Peter Stoichev, President of the University of Saskatchewan, to bring greetings on behalf of the university.
Everybody's notes are up here. Well, welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see such a packed house in this beautiful and indeed very historic hall. Some of you may be in this hall for the first time. It was renovated about 10 years ago, and as I say, it's terrific to see it hosting such a wonderful event. I'm honored to be here. Maria Campbell, it was wonderful to hear your words from the beginning of this event. For those of you who don't know, she is also a tremendous author, and her book, Half-Breed, is one of the greatest reflections on Aboriginal identity that this country has ever produced. And it makes me very proud that she's here. I'm glad she's in the law school. Faculty, staff, honored guests, incoming students, your families, friends, all your many supporters who are in the gallery here. It's a historic occasion. This hall has seen many historic occasions. We're all now witnessing another one. I learned a lot from the speakers who have addressed us already. Grant, I wanted to say I was particularly interested in your comments on whether or not you thought you were the smartest person in the class. Every one of you, by the way, will be the smartest person in the class. But I remember when I came in as president, a person of some leadership influence said to me, "You will be a really good president because great leaders are never the smartest people in the room." So thank you. The College of Law is one of the most historic in all of Canada. Established in 1912, it is the oldest law school in Western Canada, and it's wonderful that you have chosen to study here. The University of Saskatchewan, I should tell at least the family and supporters, maybe the students who don't know, we're a member of the U15, one of the top 15 research-intensive medical doctoral universities in the country. And I don't say that actually to boast, but merely to say that a degree that you get from this university is a degree that carries tremendous value with it. Momentarily, you will receive your academic gown, and that is a symbol of the journey into legal studies that you are about to begin. It means you will learn from some of the brightest legal scholars in the country. It means you will have access to centers and programs that are held in high regard, like Classic, the Native Law Center, a one-of-a-kind in this country for sure, and Create Justice. The gown also means that you are now part of an outstanding community of professionals. In a few short years, you will graduate and join all of those who graduated from this college before you and have become respected law professionals in communities in Saskatchewan, Canada, and beyond. And many people in this room could offer a history of the august alumni from this law school much better than I could. But as I speak at convocations and I talk about the fact that this university has produced many, many nation builders over its 110-year history now, I find myself often referring to the people who have graduated from this law school. Prime Minister Diefenbaker, of course, who later on became Chancellor of this university and was responsible for, among other many accomplishments on behalf of Canada, the Bill of Rights. Ellen Schmeiser, who played a key role in 1980 in the Matrimonial Property Act development. Ted Hughes, who was chief adjudicator in the Indian Residential School settlement claims. We're going to be celebrating Canada's 150th anniversary of Confederation in many ways this fall, and one way is to have book launches, 3 of them, each one related to Indigenous issues, and one of them will be a book launch through the College of Law, a book about Ted Hughes. Tom Malloy, Raynell Andrechuk, Bill Deverell, who I've got to say became one of Canada's great, not just criminal lawyers, but criminal authors, and some of you will know his novels. He wrote Street Legal. You were talking a little bit about TV programs. He wrote Street Legal, won the Dashiell Hammett Award for the best first suspense novel, wrote Needles, and then, alarmingly enough for all of you, wrote Kill All the Judges, followed by Kill All the Lawyers. Paul Binder-Shergill, she was the first turban judge in Canada. Tilly Taylor was the first chief commissioner of the Saskatchewan Human Rights Commission. All of these people were graduates of this law school. Their work and commitment has earned the college its reputation, and you too will build on the college's reputation when you build your professional practice. Enjoy what is sure to be a very memorable time in your life here, and I wish you, of course, all the success during your time at the University of Saskatchewan. On behalf of me and all of my colleagues, welcome to the ceremony today, and to all of you in the gallery who are witnessing this event. And congratulations not only on your progression in your education, but also to your status as emerging professionals. May your lives, your actions, and your professional practices embody the highest standards and aspirations of the legal profession. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, President Stoichev. Last week in Iqaluit, I said to the assembled group, I went through the long list of distinguished graduates. I'd add to that list Emmett Hall, one of the builders of Medicare, and a judge who resuscitated Indigenous rights in Canada in his dissent in the Calder decision in the 1970s. But I said, we're proudest of the thousands of graduates who helped their clients and helped people. It's not just about the famous names, which is great, and it's wonderful to be associated with that, but all of you can play a role in the lives of people, and very significant roles in the lives of people, and we're very proud of all the unsung heroes who worked after getting an education here and provided help. And you can make contributions at whatever level and know that they are valuable. I'm delighted to welcome another alumnus of the college, the Honourable Roy Romano, Chancellor of the University of Saskatchewan, as our keynote speaker this afternoon. He received his BA in 1960 from the University of Saskatchewan and his LLB in 1964. He served in public office in Canada for over 30 years and held a number of prominent political leadership roles, including Deputy Premier and Attorney General of Saskatchewan between 1971 and 1982, Leader of the Opposition between 1987 and 1991, and Premier of Saskatchewan between 1991 to 2001. He was elected Chancellor of the University of Saskatchewan for a term of 3 years in November 2016, and we are honoured to have him with us here today. Welcome, Chancellor Romano.
Thank you very much, Dean, for that very kind introduction. President Stoichev, distinguished guests, relatives, and the most distinguished of all the guests, our students who are going to be about to be gowned. Is that the process that is involved now? I want to say that for me, this is really a wonderful honor to come back and address you for a few moments. And I want to thank, at the very beginning, Dean Phillipson for the introduction. It's a bit difficult to introduce the last speaker. On one occasion when I was politicking somewhere in rural Saskatchewan, there was a farming person who was going to do the job of introducing me, and he was absolutely blunt and truthful and right to the point. And he said, thanks to so-and-so who spoke, and thanks to so-and-so who spoke. Now that all the good things are over, here's our next speaker, Roy Romano. And I promptly proved him to be absolutely true about that. Well, it is an honor to welcome the students here today to our College of Law. As has been said, I think it's one of the finest in the land. I've had the pleasure and the honor of touring many universities and speaking over the course of the last several years. This is a great College of Law. It's produced, as the President has identified, some distinguished Canadians. And please bear with me as I repeat the names because they really are. John Diefenbaker, Prime Minister. Former Governor General Ray Natitian. Don't know if he was mentioned or not. Ray actually is a shirt-tail relative, was a shirt-tail relative of my family on my wife's side. Governor General, after the Governor General, the Dean of Law, Otto Lang. Supreme Court Justice, Bud Esty, and William McIntyre. And Emmett Hall. Everybody will know Emmett Hall, of course, who later became Royal Commissioner on Health Care. Cameco's CEO, Tim Gitzel. The name of Tilly Taylor was mentioned by our very distinguished president. She was the first Chief Commissioner of the Saskatchewan Human Rights Commission, as has been pointed out. But I believe it's also correct to say that she was the first female to be appointed to a judge position in Saskatchewan, in any event, and one of the very first throughout the country. Not to mention the many other distinguished jurists and practitioners of law that are the products of this College of Law. It's a great history, one of which I'm sure your year's class will build upon throughout your studies and your later careers, and you'll also produce distinguished Canadians, all of you, of course, but even some with maybe a little more publicity. But before we continue, I want to briefly acknowledge the hard work each of you have done to this point. You have each a remarkable story to tell. The diversity of your experiences truly enriches our university and our college. Now you have 3 years of law school ahead, 3 years of hard work, late evenings, much anxiety, and much anxiety, of attending classes, writing long essays, and difficult exams. Professors who inspire and perspire you, yet ask a lot of you, or perhaps only very rarely professors who fail to inspire, but still ask a lot of you. But before I get too carried away on this theme, I want to take a moment to reflect on why top-notch legal education from our university is so valuable. First, there is one abiding truth. You'll never really leave behind this college, and therefore this university. I never did. And more to the point, this institution has a way of sneaking up on you when you least expect it. And I'm not talking about being asked to speak at a welcoming ceremony. In many other ways. In the late 1970s, when I served as Saskatchewan's Attorney General, I experienced one such moment of déjà vu. At that time, the Prime Minister was Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Some of you may have heard of him. And Pierre Elliott Trudeau was determined to patriate our Constitution, which meant bringing it from England and domesticating it here at home, even over the objection of the majority of the provinces, and may I say the credit of Prime Minister Trudeau, Sr., the presence of a separatist government in Quebec. And in doing so, he hoped that he would complete the last act of securing our nation's sovereignty. This is a big goal. This meant that Ottawa would have to sit down with all of the provincial counterparts of the Prime Minister, namely the premiers, and negotiate this very difficult, complicated task, even if reluctantly so by some of the provinces we all attended. As it turned out, I was named the provincial co-chair of the intergovernmental negotiations. Well, sitting across from me at the very first table was the federal co-chair, my old law dean, Otto Lang. Gave me a bit of a chill because I thought he might quote some of the marks that he gave to me. And he was Canada's, at that time, Minister of Justice. I felt as though he wasn't just negotiating, but he was also sternly, once again, grading my submissions and my marks and arguments. So let me say that the relationships you build with your fellow students and the professors you learn from over the next 3 years have the potential to impact your careers far into the future in ways that you cannot expect. And you never know, you too might be negotiating the Constitution yet again, and who knows, sitting across from Dean Phillipson while you're doing it. This college will give you a great gift, an understanding of one of society's most valuable achievements, a functioning, effective, and principled system of justice, rule of law, with all of its subtleties and its complexities and all of its capacity to promote order, to preserve peace, and to tame conflict. So I urge you to remember as you learn the fundamental value of what you're receiving from this institution. And here I am not in the least speaking of career and income, but rather the deep sense of law as an instrument of our political stability, our social solidarity, and our overall well-being as a nation and a community called Canada. A few years ago, during a wonderful speech at a conference hosted by our college, a late Saskatchewan premier, my very close friend and mentor, Alan Blakeney, spoke in fierce defense of democracy and of having the people, not the judges, decide what is good for society and how we should regulate ourselves. On the basis of that provocative theme, the conference then went on to debate, among other things, what is the most prudent way to understand Section 7 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which had been inserted in the debate of patriation that I alluded to a moment ago, which, as you will come to appreciate, states the following, quote, under Section 7, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right not to be deprived thereof, except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice, end quote. I underline the words, except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice, as I look at the first years coming in. These are the key words I ask you to focus on throughout your education. Section 7 gives citizens a constitutional avenue for challenging laws or decisions made in the course of legal proceedings on the basis that the principles of fundamental justice have not been observed. Much of the debate about the meaning of Section 7 has revolved around whether those principles are related to the procedure that's followed in legal action making or whether they are meant to address the substance, procedure versus substance, of the statutes and other legal enactments. At the conference, the first panel speaker, an alumnus of this law school and a former judge of the Federal Court of Appeal, and by the way, a close friend of mine, Barry Strayer, echoed Alan Blakeney's message by arguing that the worst way to understand Section 7 in our charter is to see it as inviting appointed judges to decide which laws do justice for the people and those which inflict injustice. Now keep in mind, Strayer was a key advisor to Trudeau and also a former professor at this university. It was an interesting point of argument. The grand questions of justice, Strayer asserted, would, in his words, and I quote, cover the same thing as what is called procedural due process. I don't want to get too technical. It does not cover the concept of what is called substantive due process, which impose substantive requirements as to the policy of the law in question, end quote. In other words, translated, substantive policy matters belong to the elected and accountable politicians passed respectfully due to democratic principles and processes. But countering Strayer was noted constitutional professor John White, who was Saskatchewan's lead counsel in these negotiations on patriation. White argued that in a rights-respecting and rights-protecting nation, it was legitimate for courts to intervene whenever they saw governments imposing regulations or policies that unjustly hampered and punished people for no good or effective purpose. That at heart, White argued, the rights of a person in ordinary society are to be protected against arbitrary and irrational treatment by governments, including those social policies. Now, this discussion highlighted the ongoing challenge of balancing society's will as expressed through democracy and politics, if I can put it that way, and the basic rights as set out by the Constitution. Also, there was, of course, no resolution of this debate between Strayer, the Democrat, and White, the defender of entrenched rights. And in my years of experience, I have also concluded that there is no such easy resolution, perhaps no resolution. Sometimes it is the agents of law who can make the world a more just place in which to live. Sometimes it is the agents of the people who can best be trusted to act for the benefit of all society, are elected by society, and act in the best interests of all the members of society. Now, students and friends, our Charter of Rights and Freedoms has introduced into our democracy, our legal order and legal process, and this has been alluded to by the previous speakers, the large and complicated moral question of justice. That's a big word, and its interpretations. In today's charter era, there is an extremely important debate ongoing over the constitutional notion and the meaning of fundamental justice, what I talked about a few moments ago, which seems to be pointing to more than just traditional issues of process and procedure as we thought of, and still think of, but as we thought of primarily, almost exclusively, before the charter days. It directly points to our legal system and those who are responsible for its integrity, which is, putting it bluntly, none other than you and eventually the judges taking responsibility for peeling back the surface of law's procedural regime and asking this: what is required of law to ensure that justice will be done, and that justice will be received, and that justice can be so served. Tough questions. So in the result, lawyers need to have a conception of a fair and just society right in your hearts and as a foundational issue. As contentious as this may be, a fair and just society is open to a lot of debate. That's democracy. But it is also rooted in laws designed to protect the vulnerable and to promote society's overall well-being. And as aspiring lawyers, you are the ones being trained to see that the law's meaning and purposes should, I argue, be the ones which seek to preserve the integrity of the law's greater, larger social project. Canada, Saskatchewan, you name it. It goes without saying, therefore, that lawyers must vigorously represent clients and their causes, but I also maintain that we as lawyers should represent the hopes and the ideals and the dreams of a greater society. It's never constant. It always progresses, I like to think. And we should be constantly seeking basic, decent social conditions for all, which makes our society progress. So please enter our colleges, halls, with the devotion to the difficult task of understanding our system of justice, and carry with you as the reasonable burden of privilege the concern for the human condition and the capacity for all. With this in mind, let me congratulate each and every one of you on entering the University of Saskatchewan College of Law. I wish you the very best in your studies, and I thank you for today's honor granted to me to welcome you to our great college and our great university under our outstanding president and teaching team. Good luck and all the best to you, and thank you very much.
I think one of my sheets just went missing. So. I love having competent staff, wonderful staff. Thank you, Katie, marvelous. So, I would now like to welcome our Cloakers to the stage. We're lucky to have a number of College of Law alumni, staff, and students, as well as representatives from the legal community, to present our first-year students with their gowns. Can all of the Cloakers please come to the stage? I'll ask all of them to come to the stage, and I'll ask them to step forward one at a time, and I will introduce them to you. At the far end. X marks the spot. Yeah. Okay, so in alphabetical order, John Aguirreitis, College of Law alumnus and partner at MLT Aikens LLP in Saskatoon. John. Melanie Baldwin, QC, College of Law alumna and Registrar and Executive Legal Officer for the Saskatchewan Court of Appeal. Michelle Brass, College of Law alumna and owner of Brass Law in Regina. Connie Dan Hollander, College of Law alumna and partner at Knott Dan Hollander Law Firm in Saskatoon. Lindsay Nibbs, College of Law student and president of the Law Students Association. Everett Merchant, president of the Canadian Bar Association's Saskatchewan branch. Andrew Showalter, College of Law student and president of the Indigenous Law Students Association. Nicholas Stushinov, QC, College of Law alumnus and president of the Saskatchewan Trial Lawyers Association. And Doug Surtees, College of Law alumna, professor and associate dean academic of the College of Law. I will now call upon the students to introduce themselves and receive their gowns. Audience, please refrain from applauding after each student. We'll be here till 3 a.m. if we do that, but rather wait until the entire group has received their gowns.
Mohammed Nuruddin Abu Hamra from Tripoli, Libya.
Emily Barlis from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Ariel Benish from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Taylor Berziak from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Evan Best from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Simon Peter Boston from Grand Prairie, Alberta.
Tara Brukanovic from Calgary, Alberta.
Michelle Bransma from Lethbridge, Alberta.
Shay Brame from Eston, Saskatchewan.
Rebecca Bernan from Red Deer, Alberta.
Jocelyn Campbell Chaplin from the Buffalo River Dene Nation.
Courtney Catlin from Vancouver, BC.
Kristen Clark, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Heidi Clouston from Olds, Alberta.
Monica Couture from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Melissa Craig from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Elise Cruz from Imperial, Saskatchewan.
Riley Dalshog from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Courtney Davies from Assiniboia, Saskatchewan.
Christopher Dalmacush, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Jared Duchin from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Eric Dooley, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Fraser Duncan from Irvine, Scotland.
Bronwyn Edwards and Leah from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
I'm Mark Elian from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Sarah Engen from Dauphin, Manitoba.
Connor Ferguson, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Gaultier Pida from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Tyler Fiddler, Calgary, Alberta.
Jessica Figley, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Graham Fuga from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Shane Gallup from Qualicum Beach, BC.
Darren Getty, Edmonton, Alberta.
Angela Goodman, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Julia Goodwin, Woodstock, Nova Scotia.
Tyler Gray, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Sumaya Hafiz from Calgary, Alberta.
Slade Hall, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Natalie Herman, Edmonton, Alberta.
Foster Harriet, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Eric Hoyk, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Geneva Holden, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Josh Howie, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Daniel Hrisick, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Scott Hunter, Hannah, Alberta.
Simon Hutton, Yorkton, Saskatchewan.
Carrie Ann James, Calgary, Alberta.
Diana Jansen from Stanley Mission, Saskatchewan. Melissa Jenin from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Tyler Kalinchuk from Martinsville, Saskatchewan.
Jody Kershak from Waka, Saskatchewan.
Colleen Conkin from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Petronelle Kruger, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Tito Kirk from Calgary, Alberta.
Rowan Lacasse from Calgary, Alberta.
Tanya Lambert from Kelvington, Saskatchewan.
Greg Lee from Swift Current, Saskatchewan.
Connor Leeson from Calgary, Alberta.
Joshua Lloyd from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Andrea MacDonald from Airdrie, Alberta.
Carly Manning from Calgary, Alberta.
Alyssa Marshall, Calgary, Alberta.
Cameron McCracken, Toronto, Ontario.
Graham McKellar, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Larissa Meredith Flister, Porto Alegre, Brazil. Katie Monahan, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Anis Mustarzak from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
John David Mulder from Turtleford, Saskatchewan.
Mike Monroe from Edinburgh, Scotland.
Abdurrahman Morabit from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
AJ Murray, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Melissa Nelson, Kelowna, BC.
Logan Newlove, I'm from Thunderchild First Nation.
Katie Newman, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Peter Park, Toronto, Ontario.
Mike Peaty, Calgary, Alberta.
Owen Pennick, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Sarah Perone Panaton, Ottawa, Ontario.
Brandon Brevo, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Caitlin Rath, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Corey Redderon, Beauval, Saskatchewan.
Hayden Reddle, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Bryn Reese, Outlook, Saskatchewan.
Lucas Richards, Assiniboia, Saskatchewan.
Sandra Rickard, St. John's, Newfoundland.
Amanda Robertson, Calgary, Alberta.
Mark Roney, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Tamara Ruzick, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Edward Satcher, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Logan Salm, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Matthew Scott, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Joel Seaman, Watrous, Saskatchewan.
Elaine Slensky, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Travis Entis, Emerald Park, Saskatchewan.
Indrila Sharma, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Chelsea Sherlowski, Calgary, Alberta.
Kyle Shuchuk, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Alex Schramko from Tisdale, Saskatchewan.
Maria Chapenya, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Kanwarpal Singh Sidhu, Toronto, Ontario.
Jeffrey Slowski, Bigger, Saskatchewan.
Connor Standing Ready, White Bear, Saskatchewan.
Claire Stempion, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Mackenzie Stewart, Rockland, Saskatchewan.
Janelle Sum, Calgary, Alberta.
Cheyenne Surtees, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Travis Sylvester, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Cameron Thiessen, Merrifield, Saskatchewan.
Michelle Tremblay, Calgary, Alberta. Abby Truslin, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Janine Urquhart, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Hannah Volk, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Elise Von Holly, Spiritwood, Saskatchewan.
Valerie Warwick, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Wendy White, Smiley, Saskatchewan.
R.J. Williamson, Pamburn, Saskatchewan.
Kylie Wileyman, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Laura Wolf, Toronto, Ontario.
Daniel Woloshin, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Rihanna Worm, Quakatoos First Nation, Otsinia.
Glenn Wright, Vanscoy, Saskatchewan.
Catherine Wu from Guelph, Ontario.
Justin Zalowski, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan.
Alice Jang, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Jian Zhang from Beijing, China.
Everett Zorb, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Ali Khan Narani, Edmonton, Alberta.
I'd like to thank the Cloakers again and ask them to return to their seats. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And while they're returning to their seats, I would like to just mention that we do have a student from Newfoundland here. I'm delighted that we have a Newfie here. We have a long tradition of Newfoundland students at the college, and it gives me the opportunity to say you never know when you're going to come across a U of S grad. So up in Nunavut, I was delighted to discover that the Chief Judge of Nunavut, Justice Neil Sharkey, is a graduate of the College of Law in 1975. And I had the pleasure of meeting the Minister of Justice from Newfoundland, Andrew Parsons, who was a student of mine in 2003. So you will come across classmates and graduates and alumni, and they will greet you like a close personal friend. You've joined a very, very exclusive club that will see you well, but behave yourselves, because you never know when a U of S alumni is watching you. Now, to the one of the many important parts of the afternoon, I would like the students to rise and repeat after me as we recite the student commitment. So I'll say it and then you say it. We'll try and get this right. So, as a law student of the University of Saskatchewan, College of Law, I will, to the best of my ability, conduct myself with integrity and demonstrate ethical behavior in my dealings with other students, faculty, and staff. Actively engage in the learning process. Thoughtfully consider, on the basis of evidence, a diversity of theories, ideas, beliefs, and approaches to problems and solutions. Undertake my university work in accordance with principles of academic integrity. Engage in a respectful way with members of the university community, including other students, staff, faculty, representatives of the institution, and its partners. Value diversity and the positive contributions it brings to the University of Saskatchewan, the College of Law, and society as a whole. And commit to sharing the knowledge and skills I will acquire through the study of law by positively contributing to society, locally, nationally, or globally. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me enormous pleasure as Dean and please join me in a warm round of applause as I present to you the College of Law class of 2020. Students, you may be seated. I'd like now to move into the awards portion of the event, and I want to begin by saying that the College of Law is grateful to all of our donors and for the gifts of all sizes. The college relies on the financial support of alumni and friends to assist us in funding bursaries, scholarships, and many other student initiatives. For some students, without the financial support that they receive, law school would not be an option. With that, I begin the presentation of our entrance awards. The College of Law Academic Excellence Entrance Scholarships are awarded to 6 students. The first one is Shay Brame. Second, Scott Hunter. Wendy White. Christopher Domokos. Mark Elian. And Carrie-Ann James. I'd now like to welcome John Aguritis from MLT Aikens, who will present both the William Elliott Scholarship and the MLT Aikens Scholarship in Law. The William Elliott Scholarship is presented to Matthew Scott. And the MLT Aikens Scholarship in Law is presented to Eric Dully. Thanks, sir. I'd now like to welcome Erin Clesinger, QC, President of the Law Society of Saskatchewan, to present the Law Society of Saskatchewan Scholarship. And this year's awardee is Andrea MacDonald. I'd now like to award the Harris and Loretta and Raymond Earl Parr Memorial Scholarships. There are 2 awards. The first one is to Rebecca Burnand. And the second goes to Gregory Lee. The J. Barry Thompson Scholarship goes to Shay Brim. I'd now like to welcome Troy Barrell of Millet Thompson to present the Millet Thompson National Entrance Scholarship. And this year's winner is Connor Ferguson. One of the most generous donors to the College of Law is the Law Foundation of Saskatchewan, and their 25th anniversary scholarship is presented to Sarah Engen. The Morris and Jackie Shumiacha Scholarship in Law is awarded to Edward Satcher. Please welcome Trevor Humphreys from Scotiabank to present the Scotiabank Scholarship in Law. This year's winner is Valerie Warwick. And my strange English accent says you're supposed to pronounce that Warwick. I will say Warwick, but I would say Warwick. But you say tomato. The Justice John H. Marr Memorial Scholarship goes to Jessica Figley. The Thomas P. and Peter S. D. World War II Memorial Scholarship goes to Darren Gett. The P.E. Mackenzie Entrance Scholarship goes to Tyler Gray. There are 2 James M. Stevenson Entrance Scholarships. The first one goes to Abby Treslan. And the second goes to Emily Barlas. Finally, the Eldon Williams Scholarships. There are 3 awards. The first one goes to Lucas Richards. That's okay. A troublemaker, I see. Yeah. The second goes to Michael Monroe. And last but definitely not least, Kathleen Newman. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our ceremony and awards presentation. I just want to say a few short words before we finish. We should be done by about 5 o'clock. This is a wonderful ceremony. It's a very meaningful ceremony for the faculty. We've been entrusted with your care for the next 3 years. It's our job to educate you, to assist you in your journey to becoming a legal professional. We'll ask you to work hard. We will work just as hard as you to make you successful. But I just want to remind you what a privilege it is to be a member of this college. This is a wonderful institution with a 105-year history of hard work and public service. We chose you because we believe you can join the ranks of our alumni and you could be just as successful and be just as great in public service. We're delighted to welcome you on board. It is a pleasure to have you here. We're humbled that you chose us for your legal education, and we will ensure you get a first-class legal education. I would ask that the first years make your way outside. The heavens have closed, and it has actually stopped raining, so I think, David, are we okay to go outside? Yeah? I would ask the first years to make your way outside, straight through the back doors there, where our photographer will take a picture of the entire group. After the photos are complete, please return to the green room to drop off your gowns. More importantly, everyone in the room is welcome to join us at the University Club for a reception right now. Again, thank you for all your attending. Thanks for the Cloakers and our honored guests. Thanks to friends and family for attending, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you very much.